Hey, and welcome. Here we go again for another sensational little tutorial. Okay, the purpose behind this tutorial today is that we're going to create a scoring mechanism for our game. Okay, now we're going to do this, it's going to get a little bit more advanced because we're going to add in some actual textual based coding, but don't be scared, it's nothing that hard and you are all more than capable of achieving it. Okay, so let's tuck straight in and get our hands dirty making some scoring. Okay, so the first thing we're going to need to do, obviously in your game you need sprite collectible and an object collectible, okay, and they need to be in your game. Now, off air, sorry, I've just created an object controller. So basically, all I've done is just pressed create object and I've called it object controller. I haven't really done anything at all. Now, because this one is just going to control our scoring system, we don't need to put in a sprite, okay, because we won't see this in our game. Much the same as when we made our spawn timer earlier, if you've watched that movie. If you haven't, go back and have a look at it. It is a ripper, okay. Okay, so there's going to be no sprite because we're not going to see this in our game. Alrighty. Okay, so let's just leave that there. Okay, now first thing we want to do is we're going to go up and we're going to create a font. So this is the font that we're going to see in our room. So let's call it F_score. Now I'm going to change the font, so you can come through and you can change any of these fonts that you like, but I'm going to choose Berlin Sans FB. Okay, and my font size I'm going to set to 20. Okay, so just three things to do: name it, choose your font, give it a size. Okay, so that's all good. Alrighty, so now back to our object controller. Let's open that back up. Okay, now one more really important thing here, and that is this button over here that's persistent. Okay, because we're creating score, what we need to do is that when we say in our first level we have some collectibles and we get 100 points, alrighty, that's fantastic. Now when we go into level 2 we want to keep those 100 points. So basically this persistent button allows the score to continue from one level to the other. If we don't check that persistent button, okay, what that will mean is that when we get to our level 2, our score will reset back to 0. Okay, so something to keep in mind. You may want it to reset back to 0 each level. I don't know. Up to you. Leave that in your capable hands. All right, now let's get stuck into some of the coding. So over here, we're going to click on Add Event, and our event is going to be a draw event, and then choose Draw again. Okay, now from the Control tab, let's pull in a Execute Code. Alrighty, and then we get the little code box that pops up here, and the code that we're going to type in is draw_set_color. Okay, now one thing to note there is the color is spelled C-O-L-O-R, no U. Okay, now most programming languages are American, so you'll find that in a lot of coding languages you need to use American spelling. Okay, so we're setting our color here, so let's go C_black. Alrighty, now ultimately you can choose any color there. It could be red, blue, yellow, that's up to you. Again, I'll leave that in your capable hands. Okay, another line of code, draw_set_font. Okay, and this is where we're going to call the font that we created earlier. So it's F_score. Okay, so we're setting the color and we're setting the actual font here, and that font is where we chose Berlin Sans and set it to 20. Alrighty, okay, so that's fantastic. Let's close that down, so save that. Next one, we're going to add another event, and well, other. It is an other event, and it's going to be game start. So when the game starts, let's pull in another execute code, and this time super simple. We're just going to create our variable called score, and we're going to set we're going to set the value of the score to 0. Okay, so we're going to start our game at 0. Pretty simple. Okay, now back into the draw event that we created earlier. Okay, let's pull in a draw score. So let's come down to the score tab. Okay, this one here, draw score. Pull that in. Now, this is really important, and I'll show you in the room in a moment. But basically, we need to put in an X and a Y value. And in this case, it's going to be 32 and 32. Okay, just lock that away in your memory and just listening carefully in this next little bit, because I will endeavour to explain why that's 32 and 32. Now, at the end of the day, these could change. And again, that's going to be up to you. Alrighty, but for now, that's all we need to put into there. Okay, so let's save that. Now, let's open up level 1. Okay, now I've changed this room around just a little bit. Okay, now, thinking back to a moment ago when we set that draw score to 32 by 32, what we need to remember in Game Maker is that this top block here, okay, that's up in this left-hand corner, that's X0, Y0. So if I come down to, there, that's 32 by 32. So when I put in that draw score event, basically I'm saying that this is the point that I'm going to start drawing my score up into here, okay? So that's why I've changed this little top section here, because when I play my game, it's going to say score, and then my actual value of my score will appear here. Okay, now let's just imagine, see over here we've got this spawn point. Now let's just say that I actually wanted to have my score starting here and going across there. So if I held my cursor there, you can see down in the bottom left hand corner I've got the X value of 448 and the Y value of 32. So if that's what I put into the draw score event earlier, okay, that's where my score would appear. Alrighty. Okay, so okay, one thing we need to do here though is we need to make sure that we put in our object controller, okay, because if we don't put that in, our score won't appear and it'll just be another rookie mistake made by us. Alrighty, one last thing before we play the game. Just to save a little bit of time, I've done this off air, but in my object player, I've created a collision with the object collectible, and I've set the score to 25, okay, and I've checked relative. So what that means is that when the game starts, you're on 0. So you're given 25 points relative to your score, okay, so if you're on 0 and you get one collectible, you go up to 25. If you then touch another one, you get 25 points relative to your score, which would put you on 50. Then on to 75, on to 100, 125, so on, so on, so on. Okay, so make sure that relative is checked. Otherwise, it'll only ever go to 25 or whatever you set your score at. Okay, beautiful. Okay, I think that's all good. So let's run our game. Let's have a look at how that goes. I think I've covered everything. Okay, so we can see here my little man just dropped down. Now, first thing to note is that we can see score 0 there. That is sensational. Alrighty, so, and that's good. I've just touched that, so it's gone up to 25. Okay, I've collected another one, so it's gone up to 50. Another one's gone up to 100. Have a look at that. That is sensational. Now, the big test, and this is the persistent button that we pressed earlier. When we go to our next room, I don't think that that will work actually, because when I go to the next room, no, well, it did. There you go. I actually thought, it does. So I might have just learned something there. I can't remember putting an object controller in this room, but maybe I don't have to. Maybe I only need to put it into the first room, and then it will. It's happy with that for the rest of the game. Oh, okay, but that's working well. So that's excellent. Let's just have a quick look in level 2. No, I haven't put an object controller in there, so that's interesting. I just learned something new, and I hope you did too. Okay, excellent. Hope that goes well.